Our true divinity is in our ability to create, and armed with the understanding of the symbiotic connections of life, while being guided by the emergent nature of reality, there is nothing we cannot do or accomplish. Of course, we face strong barriers in the form of established power structures that refuse to change. At the heart of these structures is the monetary system. As explained earlier, the fractional reserve policy is a form of slavery through debt, where it is literally impossible for society to be free. In turn, free market capitalism in the form of free trade uses debt to imprison the world and manipulate countries into subservience to a handful of large business and political powers. You might want to ask yourself why the entire culture is utterly saturated with mass media entertainment from all sides. While the educational system in America continues its stupefying downward slide since the U.S. government decided to take over and subsidize the public school system.
What your government pays for, it gets.
And what the government wants now is this new religion, this LGBT religion. That's why these schools are teaching what they are. They're trying to get all the kids to be gender dysphoric. What is gender dysphoria? That just means you're confused about your gender. Well, how do you do that? I don't know, maybe tell a 5-year-old in kindergarten that there's 100 different genders when he doesn't even know what the word 100 means yet. He barely knows what the word 10 means. That's how you do it. If they didn't want it in the schools, they wouldn't keep protecting this material in these lesson plans. You can see the government controls the schools, and you can see they're pushing this LGBT religion, okay, this woke religion on the children. But you can also see these churches, these Christian churches, slowly, one by one, they're turning into an LGBT religion. I mean, they don't even talk about the Bible anymore. They just talk about LGBT stuff in Christian churches now. Because all religions piggyback on the last religion. Okay, there are very few religions that don't piggyback on the previous one. That's why they all have the same motifs, the same, you know, the resurrection and the 3-day death, the December 25th, Easter, all these, the 12 disciples, all because they piggyback and piggyback. And if you go back far enough, you'll see that they all piggybacked, or a lot of them piggybacked, off of the pagan religion where they worship the sun up in the sky, the yellow ball, not a person, S-U-N. But these Christian churches today, some of them, the first thing they say when you get into church and everyone sits down and the preacher gets up to talk, the first thing that, mostly it's a woman too, a bald, short-haired woman, usually, not always, but that gets up and says, does anyone want to come out today as a trans, gay, whatever, and they got flags all over the place about the trans stuff, just like in the schools. They got all the flags that they want to pledge their allegiance to this new religion. Just like the government, they have the flags around all over the place too. But you're saying that the government doesn't control the church? Really? Because last time I heard, Pope lives in a country called Vatican City, and his country has like 50-foot high walls that are 6 feet wide going around his entire country. He don't let nobody in, not one person. And everyone in his country, 100% of them are Catholic. But he wants us to open all borders up, and we're bad if we don't. We got to let them in. Bet none of them, or we're evil. That isn't really the government, because it sounds like the Pope is the same as the government. And what the government wants now is this new religion, this LGBT religion. If they didn't want it in the schools, they wouldn't keep protecting this material in these lesson plans.
When we understand that, then we look at government-financed institutions of education and see the kind of students and the kind of education that's being turned out by these government-financed schools, logic will tell you that if what is being turned out in those schools was not in accord with what the state and the federal government wanted, then it would change it. The bottom line is that the government is getting what they have ordered. They do not want your children to be educated. They do not want you to think too much. That is why our country and our world has become so proliferated with entertainments, mass media, television shows, amusement parks, drugs, alcohol, and every kind of entertainment to keep the human mind entertained, so that you don't get in the way of important people by doing too much thinking. You had better wake up and understand that there are people who are guiding your life and you don't even know it.
We're in a lot of trouble!
The last thing the power establishment wants is a conscious, informed public, capable of critical thinking. This is why a continually fraudulent zeitgeist is output via religion, the mass media, and the educational system. It is in their interest to keep you in a distracted, naive bubble, and they are doing a damn good job of it. This is Aaron Russo, a filmmaker and former politician. To his left is Nicholas Rockefeller of the Council on Foreign Relations. After maintaining a close friendship with Nicholas, Aaron eventually ended the relationship, appalled by what he had learned.
I got a call one day from an attorney woman I knew, and she said, "Would you like to meet one of the Rockefellers?" I said, "Sure, I'd love to." And we became friends, and he began to divulge a lot of things to me. So he said to me one night, he said that there's going to be an event there, and out of that event, you're going to see, we're going to go into Afghanistan, so we run pipelines from the Caspian Sea. We're going to go into Iraq to take the oil and establish a base in the Middle East, and we're going to go into Venezuela and try and get rid of Chavez. And the first two they've accomplished. Chavez they didn't accomplish. And he said you're going to see guys going into caves looking for looking for people that they're never going to find. You know, he was laughing about the fact that you have this war on terror. There's no real enemy. He's talking about how by having this war on terror, you can never win it because so it's an eternal war, and so you can always keep taking people's liberties away. And I said, how are you going to convince people that this war is real? He says, but the media can convince everybody it's real. I mean, you know, it's just that you keep talking about things, you keep saying it over and over and over again, and eventually people believe it. You know, you created the Federal Reserve in 1913 through lies. You create 9/11, which is another lie. Through 9/11, you're fighting a war on terror, and now all of a sudden you go into Iraq, which was another lie, and now they're going to do Iran. You know, and it's all one thing leading to another, leading to another, leading to another. Now, I would say that, what are you doing this for? What's the point of this thing? You have all the money in the world you ever want. You have all the power. I said, you know, you're hurting people. It's not a good thing. And he would say, what do you care about the people for? Take care of yourself and you take care of your family. And then I said to him, what are the ultimate goals here? He said, the ultimate goal is to get everybody in this world chipped with the RFID chip and have all money be on those chips and everything on those chips. And if anybody wants to protest what we do or violate what we want, we just turn off their chip.
So how far will the sickness of power go? To what lengths will those in control go in order to maintain and preserve their positions?
We have a Florida family who are really pioneers in a brave new world. They have volunteered to be the first ever to have microchip identification devices implanted into their body.
After 9/11, I was really concerned with the security of my family.
I wouldn't mind having something planted permanently in my arm that would identify me.
George Orwell, in his famed and possibly prophetic work 1984, stated, "Power is not a means, it is an end. The object of persecution is persecution. The object of torture is torture. The object of power is power." Today, symptoms of a surveillance society continue to grow, as irrational fears of invisible enemies, coupled with rising economic instability, spread across the globe. It is under this guise of security that we can foreshadow a world where everyone is tracked, everyone is on camera, and everyone is subordinated. The most incredible aspect of all, such totalitarianism would likely not be forced upon the people, rather the people will demand it. For the social manipulation of society through the generation of fear and division has completely inhibited the culture. Religion, race, wealth, class, and every other form of arbitrary separatist identification and thus conceit has served to create a controlled population, utterly malleable in the hands of the few. Divide and conquer is the motto, and as long as people continue to see themselves as separate from everything else, they lend themselves to being completely enslaved. However, if the people ever realize the truth of their relationship to nature, and the truth of their personal power to effect change, the entire manufactured zeitgeist that's preyed upon would collapse like a house of cards.
The whole system that we live in drills into us that we're powerless, that we're weak, that our society is evil, that it's crime-ridden, etc., and so forth. It's all a big, fat lie. We are powerful, beautiful, extraordinary. There is no reason why we cannot understand who we truly are, where we are going. There is no reason why the average individual cannot be fully empowered. We are incredibly powerful beings.
Now, in our culture, we've been trained for individual differences to stand out. So you look at each person, immediately it is brighter, dumber, older, younger, richer, poorer, and we make all these dimensional distinctions, put them in categories and treat them that way. And we get so that we only see others as separate from ourselves in the ways in which they're separate. And one of the dramatic characteristics of experience is being with another person and suddenly seeing the ways in which they are like you, not different from you, and experiencing the fact that that which is essence in you and which is essence in me is indeed one. The understanding that there is no other. It is all one.
Life's like a ride in an amusement park. And when you go on it, you think it's real,
because that's how powerful our minds are. And the ride goes up and down and round and round. It has thrills and chills, and it's very brightly colored.
And it's very loud, and it's fun for a while. Some have been on the ride for a long time, and they begin to question, is this real, or is this just a ride?
And other people have remembered, and they come back to us, and they say, hey, don't worry.
Don't be afraid ever. Because this is just a ride. And we kill those people. Shut him up, I've got a lot invested in this ride. Shut him up!
Look at my furrows of worry. Look at my big bank account.
My family, this has to be real. It's just a ride.
But we'll kill those good guys who try and tell us that. You ever notice that? And let the demons run amok?
But it doesn't matter. Because it's just a ride. And we can change it anytime we want.
It's only a choice. No effort, no work, no job,
no savings of money. Just a choice right now between fear and love.
You need to fear God. That's the King's version. God's version is love. It's not about fear, like the King wants you to believe. The revolution is now, the Pastafarian revolution, a peaceful revolution.
Like this one, people will debate what is right or wrong or good or evil, but unless you can actually establish that there is such a thing as truth, everything else is pointless.
live in this world right now, which is called postmodernism. You know, you have your view of truth, and I have my view of truth, and she has her view of truth, and he has his view of truth. The problem with that is it sounds really good, but it simply does not work.